In Liverpool's first season of the post-Klopp era, in which many people expected them to have a tricky transition, like Man United post-Fergie or Arsenal post-Wenger, Arne Slot's side have cruised to the Premier League title. That is a huge credit to Slot, especially considering that Federico Chiesa, who has barely featured this season, was his only signing, but it is also a credit to Jürgen Klopp and the squad that he left behind. When Klopp arrived at Anfield 8 games into the 2015-16 season, Liverpool were 10th in the Premier League table, narrowly trailing Southampton and Everton. They hadn't won a top-flight league title in more than 25 years, predating the Premier League era, that only appeared in the Champions League in 1 out of the last 6 seasons, in which they were eliminated during the group stage. Simon Mignolet was their number 1, and Danny Ings was their centre-forward. Klopp departed, 9 years later, as a Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup and League Cup winner, a 2-time Premier League and Champions League runner-up, and he left behind a squad which had a spine consisting of Alisson Becker, Virgil van Dijk, Alexis McAllister, and Mohamed Salah. On the balance of things, it would be fair to say that he did a decent job. It's just a shame that he sold his soul after leaving Liverpool, and now works for the Red Bull Cinematic Universe, attempting to better advertise an energy drink brand within the world of football. I don't know, for one of the best managers in the world, it just seems like kind of a waste. Look at him there, pretending he actually likes Red Bull, like Gary Neville desperately trying not to gag while swallowing down a thick load of fuel on an episode of The Overlap. You're not fooling anyone, Jürgen. As we approach a decade since Klopp joined Liverpool, replacing Brendan Rodgers and inheriting a fractured squad in dire need of reinforcements, I thought that it might be interesting to take a look back at the German's first 7 signings at Anfield and where those players are now. I hope that you agree with that being interesting, otherwise this video really isn't for you, and I'm not quite sure why you clicked on it. Without further ado then, who Klopp never expressed any interest in signing, not at Mainz, Dortmund or Liverpool, here are Jürgen Klopp's first 7 signings in charge of Liverpool, and where those players are now. 7th, Marko Grujić, Porto. The first signing of the Jürgen Klopp era at Anfield, and the club's only January permanent arrival in his first window in charge, was one that he played a key role in. Following an outstanding start to the 2015-16 season at Red Star Belgrade, 19-year-old Marko Grujić was sought after by the likes of Inter Milan, AC Milan, Juventus and Chelsea. Juve and Chelsea were the reigning Italian and English champions at the time, and Juve reached the Champions League final the previous season, so convincing Grujić to join mid-table Liverpool would be no mean feat. Klopp took the matter into his own hands, personally reaching out to the Serbian teenager in an effort to convince him. When Grujic's father expressed doubts about his son joining Liverpool, Klopp's assistant at the time, Željko Buvac, flew out to Belgrade to speak to him in person. The charm offensive worked, and on January 6th, Grujić joined Liverpool for a reported £5.1 million, telling the press that, quote, "I would choose Liverpool over Real Madrid and Barcelona," end quote. Those two weren't in for him though, so that wasn't a decision that he had to make. Grujić rejoined Red Star on loan for the remainder of the season, during which time he made his senior Serbia debut, but despite playing a starring role for Liverpool in pre-season, he never really established himself at Anfield. Several months out injured during his debut campaign didn't exactly help, and when he returned, he was battling with Jordan Henderson, James Milner, Emre Can, Jorginho Wijnaldum and Adam Lallana for a starting berth in Klopp's all-important midfield engine room, where Liverpool games, especially during those early years, were so often won and lost. Loan moves to Cardiff City, Hertha Berlin and Porto followed, before Liverpool sold Grujić to Porto 5.5 years after they had signed him for £10.5 million. Whilst far from the most memorable of Klopp's Liverpool signings, Grujić himself has hailed the move as a success, saying that he left Anfield a much better player than he had been when he arrived, and Liverpool themselves sold Grujić for over twice what they paid for him. Having successfully established himself in Portugal's second city during his first 3 seasons at the club, winning 3 Portuguese Cups and a Primeira Liga title, Grujić has missed virtually the entirety of this season following a serious injury to his heel. 6th, Steven Caulker, Ankara Kaçırangıcı. It would be fair to say that Jürgen Klopp's first 2 signings at Liverpool weren't exactly era-defining, and for his sake, that is probably a good thing. Early on in his reign as Liverpool boss, Klopp's team were hit with a succession of injuries at centre-back. They lost both Martin Škrtel and Dejan Lovren to hamstring injuries, meanwhile Kolo Touré and Mamadou Sakho had shorter spells on the sidelines. Steven Caulker, once very highly rated, commanding £8 million plus fees when he joined Cardiff City and Queen's Park Rangers, as well as winning an England cap in 2012, was Klopp's emergency solution. Contracted to Championship Queen's Park Rangers at the time, with whom he had been relegated in his debut campaign, Caulker spent the first half of the season on loan at Southampton, in which he made 3 Premier League appearances, but that deal was terminated to allow him to join Liverpool. Klopp said of the deal, quote, "We looked for Premier League experience because in this short time, you need that experience. We look for a good header of the ball because that's what we need. We want to play good pressing. We want to press the opponent, and so they have to play long balls. If they play long balls, you need people in that last line who can help you with headers." End quote. Caulker made 3 Premier League appearances for Liverpool during the second half of the season, just as he had for Southampton in the first, all 3 of them as last-minute substitutes, totalling, wait for it, 4 minutes of football in total. I'm not sure that he got the chance to head too many balls. Caulker only played 13 games for QPR the following season, and in December 2017, his contract was terminated. He enjoyed a renaissance in Dundee, spurring a move to Alanyaspor in the Turkish Super League, and eventually to Fenerbahce. The 6'3" former Tottenham man played 4 fewer minutes for Fenerbahce than he had for Liverpool, before returning to England in 2022 with Wigan Athletic. Caulker made a brief foray into management as a player coach with 5th-tier FC Malaga City in Spain last year, before returning to Turkey this season, where he has played over 30 times for Ankara Kaçarangaca in Turkey's 2nd tier. Caulker, incidentally, became a full international with a second national team, Sierra Leone, as a 31-year-old, and, now aged 33, he has since won 18 caps and captains the national team. 5th. Joel Matip, retired. The second centre-back signed by Jürgen Klopp at Liverpool, like Steven Caulker, Joel Matip has a real aerial presence about him, making him ideal for dealing with long balls. Unlike Steven Caulker, Matip actually played. 201 games in 8 seasons to be exact, and it would have been many more were it not for injuries. The first signing of Jürgen Klopp's first summer in charge of the Reds, Liverpool reached an agreement to sign Matip on a pre-contract deal in February 2016, with his contract set to expire at Schalke. A graduate of the Schalke youth ranks, having been born in nearby Bochum, Matip was a 2-club man, retiring in 2024, aged only 33, following 8 years at Anfield. A towering centre-back and underrated ball player, Matip formed a formidable partnership alongside Virgil van Dijk, alongside whom he started and kept a clean sheet in the 2019 Champions League final. That was one of 6 trophies that Matip won on Merseyside, but unfortunately, he missed a huge number of games owing to a series of injuries. Hamstring, knee and ankle injuries all ruled the former Cameroon international out for extended periods of time, but the most devastating injury would be his last. In a 4-3 win against Fulham in December 2023, Matip ruptured his ACL, forcing him off in the 69th minute. Out of contract at the end of last season, Matip never played for Liverpool again, and in October, not yet having recovered from his ACL setback, he retired from the sport. 4th. Loris Karius, Schalke. From a former Schalke player to a current one, Loris Karius played 49 games for Liverpool, but 99% of people could only remember one of them. Unfortunately for the German, that one was the Champions League final, arguably the biggest game in club football, and what they remember is him rolling the ball onto Karim Benzema's foot, fumbling a weak long-range effort by Gareth Bale into the back of his own net, and crying. Still, it could have been worse. I'm not quite sure how, but I'm sure that it could have been. The crossbar could have collapsed on him and knocked him out or something. Come to think of it, that probably would have done him a favour in the circumstances. Look, it was unfortunate, is the point, alright? It is always worth noting that Karius was sort of knocked out, suffering a concussion following an elbow by Sergio Ramos just minutes before his first mistake. Regardless of the mitigating circumstances, there was no coming back for Karius, who Klopp looked likely to replace that summer regardless. Initially signed for just £4.75 million from Jürgen Klopp's former club Mainz, becoming the first signing for a fee in Klopp's first summer in charge, Karius was rotated with Simon Mignolet for the next 2 seasons. Following his Champions League final mishap, and Karius had started in every Champions League game for Liverpool that season, Klopp brought in Alisson Becker from Roma for what was briefly a world record fee for a keeper. Karius went out on loan to Besiktas and Union Berlin before his Liverpool contract expired, subsequently spending 2 further seasons as a backup choice at Newcastle United. After 6 months without a club, Karius joined struggling second Bundesliga giant Schalke in January 2025 on a short-term deal until the end of this season. The 31-year-old made 4 appearances before suffering an injury to the structural muscle in his left calf in March. I swear, some guys just can't catch a break. Third, Sadio Mane, Al Nassr. Some guys just can't catch a break, and some guys just can't stop fancying teenagers, even when they're 33 years old. Sadio Mane falls firmly into the second category, having married then 18, now 19-year-old Aisha Tamba in January 2024. Tamba was described as having been Mane's, quote, long-time girlfriend at the time, prompting the almost ubiquitous response, wait, what do you mean long time?
What do you mean by that?
According to Mane's father, Mane had met Aisha, quote, more than 2 years ago. Yeah, the maths isn't mathsing on this one, Chief. Mane, who began his career in Europe with Metz as a 19-year-old, or well past his sell-by date as some might put it, had a very linear rise and journey to Anfield. He was honed by Red Bull Salzburg and Southampton, 2 clubs renowned for their development of young players at the time, before Jürgen Klopp made him his first marquee signing at Anfield, and then the most expensive African footballer of all time, brought in for a potential £36 million from Southampton. There were plenty of people who questioned that fee at the time, but Mane turned out to be pretty much a dream signing for Klopp, and indicative of some of the outstanding recruitment that the club would do over the coming years. Incredibly industrious and gifted, Mane was integral to Liverpool for the next 6 years, forming 1/3 of one of the best attacking trios in the sport, alongside Mohamed Salah and Roberto Firmino. A scorer of great goals as well as very important goals at the most opportune moments, Mane scored 120 goals and made 43 assists in 269 appearances for Liverpool in total, making the PFA Team of the Year in 4 out of his 6 seasons at the club. That means that Mane, remarkably in my opinion, has made the PFA Team of the Year more times than Mohamed Salah. I'm not quite sure how that happened, but it feels like something that needs to be looked into. Following 6 years of outstanding service to the club, Liverpool sold Mane to Bayern Munich in 2022 for basically the same fee that they had paid to sign him. Things didn't quite work out for the Senegal captain in Bavaria, but fortunately for them, the Saudi Arabian state investment boom in football arrived right on cue, and Al Nassr snapped him up for almost as much as Bayern had paid for him. A teammate of Marcelo Brozovic and Cristiano Ronaldo's at Al Nassr, Mane is now one of the highest paid players in the world, reportedly earning in excess of $800,000 a week tax-free. The good news doesn't stop there for Mane though, who has scored 29 goals in 90 games in Saudi Arabia, as his wife also graduated secondary school in Senegal last summer, 6 months after they had married, allowing her to move in with him in Saudi Arabia. So that's good. Second, Ragnar Klavan, retired. Ragnar Klavan almost feels like a sort of pre-Jürgen Klopp era Liverpool player, in a similar vein to Sebastian Coates, Fabio Borini or Iago Aspas, but, alas, Klavan was signed by Klopp, I promise you, otherwise he wouldn't be featuring in this 7. I am quite strict about stuff like that. The second centre-back signed during Jürgen Klopp's first summer in charge at Anfield, and the least successful of the 2, I think that it would be fair to say, against Matip, Ragnar Klavan arrived for a fee that was variously reported as being worth somewhere between £2 to £4.2 million, presumably due to various add-ons. A key player at Augsburg in the Bundesliga, Klavan was already 30 years old when Liverpool signed him, and Klopp identified him as an ideal replacement for the experienced Kolo Touré, who followed Brendan Rodgers to Celtic in the summer. When Klavan's agent told him that, quote, the Liverpool team is interested, Klavan responded, Everton, only to be told, quote, no, the red ones, end quote. That is a true story, by the way, from the horse's mouth. Klavan made a total of 53 appearances in 2 seasons at Anfield, during which time his effort and application could never be questioned, and he became a bit of a cult hero. His next stop was Cagliari, where he spent 2.5 years, before a brief stint back in his native Estonia, where he is worshipped like a god, with Pied Limeshkond and JK Talina Kalev. 2 clubs whose names I am pronouncing brilliantly, no doubt. He retired 4 months ago, age 39, and has since founded a heavy metal group called Death to Daffodils. No, not really, I just made that last bit up, but it seems like something that he'd do, doesn't it? First, Alex Manninger, carpenter. Considering Jürgen Klopp's extraordinary success at Liverpool, transforming the club, having multiple 90-plus point seasons, and winning the Champions League and the Premier League, his first 7 signings, well, I mean, they're hardly star-studded, are they? I'm not saying that as an insult, if anything it is a compliment to the job that he did, but outside of Mane and Matip, none of them became an integral part of his project. Some players who preceded Klopp's arrival, like James Milner, Jordan Henderson, or Roberto Firmino, played much more starring roles. In fairness, some of these signings were very much functional. Caulker was effectively an emergency loan deal owing to an injury crisis, Karius was intended to provide competition for Simon Mignolet, and he did, and Alex Manninger, Klopp's 7th signing at Anfield, was signed on a 1-year deal to be a number 3 behind Mignolet and Karius, who probably never expected to play for the club. He was right not to expect that if that was the case, because he didn't. Formerly of Arsenal and Juventus, the vastly experienced Manninger was 39 when he joined Liverpool, described by Klopp as being one for the future. Brought in from Augsburg, like Klavan, Manninger made the bench in Liverpool's first 4 games of the season while Loris Karius was out injured, but from August onwards, he never made a matchday squad. He made the decision to retire from football at the end of the season, understandably, on the verge of turning 40, and returned to his first love, which was carpentry. Now aged 47, Manninger has since founded a home renovation business in his native Austria, as well as reportedly owning a significant stake in the Manninger Hotels chain. Those were Jürgen Klopp's first 7 signings at Liverpool, although a quick shout-out must go to Jorginho Wijnaldum. Must it? Yes, it must. Who was Klopp's 8th signing, and the last of his first summer in charge, following a drawn-out transfer saga that brought him to Anfield from Newcastle United, and who now captains Al Ettifaq, the club who sacked Liverpool legend Steven Gerrard earlier this season, and who former Liverpool captain Jordan Henderson previously walked out on after giving up on his mission to spread gay pride to a theocratic dictatorship. It's a small world, eh? That is it for today's video, but thank you all very much, as ever, for watching. I thoroughly hope that you enjoyed it. Hit the like button if that was the case, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and of course it goes without saying, make sure that you are subscribed and have notifications not just turned on for this channel, but also my second channel, Alfie Potsama, where I recently uploaded my 5th video, everyone's talking about it, and the 6th video, according to rumours, could be any minute now. So check that out, both of those should be about to appear on your screens now, along with a couple of videos that you might enjoy watching after this one. You can also find me on social media, usually via the username at HITC Sevens, but all of those links plus a whole lot more good stuff should be down in the video description below. Cheers, and have a fantastic day.